everyone, it's Sarah Hine. So I manage Tipsy Truck, which is a mobile beer and wine trailer that goes around central Indiana. So I wanted to jump on and talk about what it takes for us to do any event and what the kind of process is. Because lately it's been a little bit slower for us with the Alcohol Tobacco Commission getting permits back to us. So here's how our process goes and what the state requires for us to get done anytime we do an event. And any business that has a catering permit has to go through part of this process as well. So it's not just for when we do mobile events for the temporary beer and wine permit. So one of the things about it is obviously it's a beer and wine permit. You can't do liquor to be mobile. So that's one thing a lot of people we get asked a lot of times is, don't you have whiskey? Don't you have tequila? Can't you have rum? We can't. We can only have beer and wine products. So we carry wine spritzers, wine slushies, sangria, wine cocktails, sparkling sake, hard cider, and then beer. So those are kind of the products that you can carry for a beer and wine trailer. So what we have to do, though, is every time we do an event, we have to do this permit that goes to the state. So it takes a little bit of time for it. So there's a lot of steps to it. So a lot of these take 2 to 3 weeks for us to get the whole process completed. So when you're looking to book an event, think about that from a time point, that these are not super quick to get done. Like, we have a lot of work to put into these because they have to go to multiple different places as well. So there's 6 different districts in the state to begin with. So we have to also know then which district we actually send our permits into to get our final approval. So that's the thing. So we sit in District 3, being in Boone County. The other district we deal a lot with is District 6, because that has Indianapolis and Marion County and Hancock County. So that's where we've done a lot of things, or Johnson County. So those are some of the things that we have to deal with. So we have to actually fill out like where we're going to be. So one of the things we always ask is where our trailer is going to be located, because that's an important fact of what we have to put on this permit and actually fill it in, because we have to do a diagram of where we're going to set up for that event at your location. So when we're doing neighborhoods, like knowing like, are we at the clubhouse? Are we at someone's driveway? Are we in one of the public spaces? Like, we have to have an actual address. So you can't just have a street or combined streets. Like, it takes a little bit of time for that to know like exactly that. So we have to get the closest address we can to it. We have to have the date. So that's one of the things like I reach back out to people on. We have to have the date, the time, and that location to get all of it done. So then I have to draw a diagram of what that setup is going to be like. A lot of times I actually also print a map, so a Google map, to send in with it to show like where the location is on the map itself. So whether we're at a clubhouse or a driveway, and I box that in, so like the ATC and the police department or whoever we're sending it to has to know. So on these, we have to have the barriers. So that's one thing you guys see with us. We have the barriers. We have to set up barriers. That's a requirement from the Alcohol Tobacco Commission. As much as it kind of can be a pain in the butt, we get it, but it's a requirement that we have to follow to be able to sell alcohol by mobile. So those barriers, we set up those barriers. That's where you're supposed to stay within to drink any of it. So it's kind of that beer garden theory. So it's the beer garden that you can drink in and stay within. So we also have to have the no minors. So there's no minors able to buy from our direct counter. So we've set up a separate area for minors to be able to buy at, so we can still have those kid slushies and Cokes and Sprites and little snack things, chips and things that kids can buy when they want to hang out too with their parents as well. So it's nice. So we have to have those barriers put up. We have to have those drawn in. We have to say no minors where that area is. No carry in, carry out, because that's what the state requires, is that you can't carry in any alcohol and you can't carry out any alcohol of those barrier areas that we've set up and drawn in on our maps. We have to kind of tell exactly like the space that we're going to take up as well. So that's one of the most difficult things, is how much space are we taking up? Are we taking up 20 feet? Are we taking up 20 by 30 feet? Are we taking up, 100 feet? So I usually put on most of ours 100 by 100 feet, just because it gives us a really wide space for people to be able to move around and have from there. So the next thing that happens though, once I get all that complete, is I have to sign it, but we have to send this off to whatever local police department is in that area. So this one has Noblesville. I believe this one actually goes to the Noblesville Police Department. Some of them actually can go to the Sheriff's Department. So we have to actually find out where it's going. So is it going to the local police department or is it going to the local sheriff's department for that county? So that takes time as well. So we have to send those in or drop them off. A lot of them, then we have to go pick them up. So when they're completed, each of the police stations will call us and let us know we can come pick up our permits from that. So that can take anywhere from a day to 2 weeks is what we get from a lot of them, that they say, give us a minimum of 2 weeks to get that signed and back to you. So that's where that process takes a little bit of time. After we finally get them back, we then have to send it with a $50 check or money order to whatever of the 6 districts that they go to. So that's where we get our final approval from the Alcohol Tobacco Commission. So each of those excise districts have people, they have a lieutenant that serves in there. They have different sergeants as well that are ATC officers that can come out and check stuff. But that's where we have to send it for our final approval. And then those have to be into them a minimum of 5 days prior to that event. So yet again, that's where I say we're looking at a minimum of 2 to 3 weeks a lot of times to get the whole process completed, which is why on some of them we say we can't do it, or if there's certain areas where I know like we can get it done fast, like in Boone County, I can go right into Lebanon or Zionsville or Whitestown, and there's usually the chief of police or the sheriff's department is really great about getting it done pretty fast. But if I'm having to travel to other ones, it takes us a little bit more time to get those done, or if we have to send them off because of the distance. So just be aware of that's, we are doing our best on a lot of these, and so we get them in. I send them in usually a minimum of 2 weeks into the ATC, so that's what we really do like, is to send them in 2 weeks prior to the ATC, so it has time for them to process everything. Now, does that happen every time? Absolutely not. If we get some that are closer to the deadline. But that kind of gives you an idea of things that we have to go through to get these actually submitted and done for every one of your guys' events. And so this year, since we started in like March and I've been tracking it, we've had over 200. So I tracked all these in an Excel spreadsheet and has to keep track of like the dates and where they go. So, if you hear back from us on certain things, or when we're requesting a map of areas, or if it's an event and like it's a music event and you're like, where are we going to set up? There's a reason we're asking for it. Like, we're doing it because the state's requiring us to do that, and we want to make sure we give them the best information we can. And any of those maps that you send to us with the layouts and things, we forward those on. Like, I forward those on to the police departments that we have to get signed off on, and I forward them on to the ATC so they get the information from you guys directly as well. So that's super helpful a lot of times. But like I said, these each cost us $50, whether they get approved in there and whether they get used or not. So if people cancel events later in the time, like, we've lost that $50 as well. So, be aware of that we are putting money out there as well to do these events for everyone. We only charge to do private events. We don't charge to do the neighborhood parties right now. So that's something we might have to change later on. If people, because we've had some cancel or want to reschedule. So you have to, I know it's tough on those timelines, but 2 weeks is a minimum of what we need for some of those cancellations, because we've already paid to have these permits processed as well. But if you guys have any questions on these, feel free to let me know. These are not fun to do, but it is an important process for us, because the state, they want to know where we are and where we're selling, which I think is great. That's part of the process as it is to do the temporary beer and wine permits. So, if you have questions on it or concerns or anything that goes with it, that's just part of what our process is. And I can, talk you through some of it if you're looking into doing some of them, but I hope this is helpful and gives you guys a better idea of some of what we go through on a regular basis to get your permits ready for your events each time. So thank you guys so much, and I hope it's helpful. Bye.